Hello, my name is Tiana Chen. For those that haven't heard of me before, I'm the veteran staff member of GovReports. I'd like to welcome and thank you all for your attendance to today's webinar sessions, which we will be talking about the proposal and the engagement process in GovReports. Presenting today's webinar session is Ali Cochran, who is a registered BAS agent, and she owns her own bookkeeping practice. Ali has mastered the GovReports Office Practice Manager features and will be presenting today's session specifically on the prospecting of clients from the proposal to the engagement letter process. Before I hand over to the control to Ali, a little bit of housekeeping. Please raise your hands if you can hear me. Okay, a few people can hear me. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Thanks, Joanne, Jody, Jennifer. So it's good. So it looks like you all can hear me. Okay, this session is recorded and will be posted on our website hopefully by tomorrow. So if you miss a little bit here or there, you can always revisit the session at your convenience. During these sessions, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to send it through so we can come back to it during questions time. So I will now hand over to Ali.
Thanks, Tiana. Just making sure also that everyone can hear me, and also can you see the screen? Just want to make sure that you can, yeah, wonderful. Thanks, Donna. Great to hear that you can hear. Wonderful. All right. So let's get underway and let's talk about proposals, letters of engagement. So Anne-Marie says she can't see the screen. Is there anyone else who can't see the screen? And someone else says they can't hear anything. So Patricia can't hear anything. Anyone else who can't see the screen? Can you just, let me just put the hands down for everyone. Can you put your hand up if you still can't see the screen so I can see how many people can't see it? And Shirley can't hear anything. Hold on for a second and we'll see what's happening. All right, bear with me for a moment. Okay, so we've got people who can't see the screen. Oh, Anne-Marie says she's got it. Can you hear me is the question. What's on my screen is a proposal-webinars GovReports. If you can see that, fantastic. So let me put hands down and just make sure that you can see that. Can someone just indicate they can see it before we go any too much further? So I just need to make sure it's technical. Wonderful. People can see? Fantastic. Okay, so let's get started and talk about proposals through to letters of engagement. And part of, you know, bookkeeping, accounting practices is sending out proposals when we have new clients and putting through letters of engagement. And so let's talk about that purpose. So why are we doing a proposal? Obviously, we want to be able to track those leads that come into our business and send out proposals to those who are interested in our services. And we want a method to be able to track those. So once we send that proposal out, we want to be sure that we can actually follow through and make sure we're following through on those proposals, whether they're accepted, rejected, whatever it may be, whether we have to renegotiate. We've got some way of doing that. So the new proposal is going to happen in the My Practice area in GovReports. Now, the My Practice area is part of the Office Practice Manager system, where you can manage your practice, you can set up jobs, you can set up tasks to do, you can schedule them on the calendar, you can allocate them to your staff. And what's going to happen is you'll see here that under the My Practice, along with the jobs, calendar, time, billing, reports and reminders, there'll be a new choice called proposal. So this proposal is sent by the tax or BAS agent or accountant stating the services they can provide and any other terms for providing those services. Once we get to that My Practice, you can add the proposal, adding things such as a proposal name. You can select the client a commencement date and an end date. You can set the financial year, and you can then select the services. Now, once you have selected a client, those client details will be pre-filled into your proposal. So down the bottom of the screen, you'll get this option to add a proposal. You'll then select your client at the top here, and you'll select the placeholders that you want in your practice. So you can see here, prepared by your practice name. The actual placeholders here are the ABN, the address, sender name, etc. And then over here, the client names will pre-populate from the choice you made in the client. Oop. So you can see here what you want to do. The next screen, you will, once you've selected that client, if the client is not there, you also have the option to add the client at that time. Now, any new client to whom the proposal is yet to be sent will initially be in a lead status. Now, once that proposal is accepted by it, it will change to an active status. So these are things that are going to happen on our next screen when we look at adding a client. Come on screen, there we go. So when we add the new client, we get the option here to set up the client status. So initially, all proposals that need to be sent out need to go out in a lead status. Can only be sent to lead clients. So if you've got an existing active client, then you need to change their status to lead in order to send the proposal. My screen is going a bit slow. There we go. The next stage is selecting the services that you offer. Now, it comes with a pre-populated set of services to which you can customize, which we'll talk about shortly, but you can go through and select the services to which you want to offer with this proposal. Oh, come on, my fingers aren't working tonight. So you can see here that we've got some bookkeeping services, and we've got check boxes there where we can choose as little or as much as is needed. Once you've prepared that proposal, you'll see here you'll have it as a draft where it's prepared but not yet sent to the client for authorization. You have ones where they are awaiting for acceptance, so that's been sent to the client and you're waiting some sort of response back from the client. We have those active proposals, ones that have been accepted within the expiry period that you've set. And then we have a completed proposal. So that proposal has actually been accepted and it's expired. Now, in the actions drop-down box, you have the choice to move things to draft, to move it to send it to the client, to accept it on the client's behalf. Obviously, you would want to have some sort of recognition. I just want to check you can still hear me because Martin says he can't. I just want to make sure that you can hear. Shirley's got it working, wonderful. And I'll talk about the software, wonderful, okay. So you can accept on the client's behalf, and obviously, as I said, you want to have something in writing, whether email, written, some sort of form that allows you to do that, to cover yourself off. And if the proposal's not going to be accepted, you would mark it as lost. So it's when that lead doesn't become active. You can also duplicate a proposal or delete a proposal. And Zoe, I'll answer your question shortly about this software towards the end of this webinar. So you can see now that in our clients we have our status list, and you can see along the top we see our active, our leads, tagged, archived and lost. So at any time we can hear it. Is anyone else aside from Martin having trouble with the sound? I just need to know because Martin is the only one at this stage that I know of that is not hearing stuff properly. If you could just put your hand up if you can't hear me. Sandra can hear, others can hear okay. I'm not sure what it is, Martin, with your stuff, whether or not you log out and log back in. I'm not sure what the solution is there, but others can hear. Wonderful. So you can see here you have a very quick snapshot of how your clients are, what stage they're at, active, lead, tagged, archived and lost. Wonderful, Martin. Glad to hear you have sound now. So I talked about the services list and customizing those services lists. And at the end of this, I'm going to take you through and show you where you would do some of this. This proposal is not yet in the current software, but I will show you where you're able to still amend some services and information that's already set up in there in the background. So in customizing those client services that you want and adding things in that you want to have, you would go to the settings in the top right of the screen of GovReports, and you would go into the practice settings. And once you go into the practice settings, you click on the new client services. This will bring you up to a services list. And you can see here you can add sections. You can then edit, add or delete different bits and pieces of the services that you offer. So if you wanted to add a service in, you could add a service in within the bookkeeping, in the payroll. If there's something else you do, you could do that as well. When you select to add a new one, you will have an option to select text or a checkbox. Now, obviously, if you want to include this as one of the items you want to mark off and include in your services, you're going to set that up as a checkbox. So before I get into the engagement letters, what I'm going to do is just show you very briefly on an existing GovReports area where we go to do that. So up here, so in GovReports, when you log in, the practice management tool comes within here. So this is when you purchase GovReports, your subscription to GovReports, you'll see the practice manager option in there for you. In the My Practice, this down the bottom here is where the new proposals will turn up. Bear with me for a minute, I'm going to mute while I cough. Okay, so down here is where you will find the new proposals. Now at the moment, if we go up into the settings here, you'll see the practice settings that I talked about. When we go into the practice settings, once my computer decides to respond to me, it's going very slowly for some reason, not quite sure why. Maybe it thinks it's dinner time and time to knock off, or maybe it's logged itself out and I need to log back in. No, it looks like it's getting there. So once we get there, you'll see the new client services. You can tick that here or you can check it down there. In here, you can click on the Customize. And in here, you can go through, you might want to edit the item and rename it. You might want to add an item, which is where I said you get the option of the checkbox or the text. Obviously, if you want a checkbox there so you can check it off and include it in the list of services, then you would choose checkbox. And once you're finished with that, you would save it to make sure you didn't lose anything. And so all these things can be modified to suit what it is that you want in your system. I'll go back to my home now, and I'll go back to our practice. Now, obviously, the proposal is the first step. Once the proposal's been accepted, the next stage would be to formalise it in the form of an engagement letter. So the engagement letter gives you that level of security and your client a level of security to know that there has been a scope that's been set out, what services are being provided, at what price they're going to be provided. So, it's really important to have that engagement letter there with your clients. How many of you now, just a show of hands, how many of you use engagement letters currently? Your hand up just to see. Oh, that's great to see. Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. So engagement letters also prevent scope creep. Scope creep being where you start off providing certain services to the client, and as you engage with them more fully, other services become part and parcel of the services that you are providing them, but they seem to creep in to the existing arrangement at no change in the pricing. And it's a really dangerous area, not just for you but also for the client. So the client will then have this expectation that that's included all the time if you let that go on. And then if you suddenly increase the price and they don't understand, you run the risk of alienating the client because they were not made aware that it, even though it was in the original engagement letter, this was outside the scope, they were not made aware that you had done that one free and it should have been, charged previously. So getting an engagement letter and having that scope in there and constantly reviewing that, and as the business grows, then re-engaging and offering a new engagement letter. It may be you may do an engagement letter once a year and have a clause in there about increasing prices. You might do it every time you have a change to the services. You'll want to do a new engagement letter to ensure that the scope has been developed to encompass the new services that are being offered. So let's talk a little bit about our engagement letters now. So I'm just going to move across back to our PowerPoint presentation and wait for that screen to come back up. Please come back up, thank you. All right, so just to let you know, on the website, this website here is a user guide that takes you through step by step of the engagement letter process. I just wanted to put that there for you. But at the moment, when you are within a client, the hamburger sort of symbol or the bar here, 3-bar symbol, I'm not quite sure what they call them in GovReports, it always has different names in different programs. You'll have the option to select engagement letter. When you select the engagement letter, which my mouse will decide to work for me, you will then go through and select your services. And it's very similar to the proposal layout. And so first of all, you'll get the letter of engagement template. So up the top here, you can give it, it'll come up by default with the word letter of engagement. So you would obviously want to put in a client name or something that will identify it from any other documents. You will input the start date, the end date, and the financial year. This is why I said it's very similar to the proposal. The practice name is here, and that will populate from information of the placeholders you've selected, and the client details will be here, and they will have been populated from the fact that you selected the client when you were in the client to begin with when you were doing the engagement letter. Down the bottom, you'll see that you have the actual body or the content of the engagement letter, and you can customize this for each person to suit what it is. And you'll see here that all the placeholders are in parentheses, the little brackets, I should say. At the end of it, you can save it, you can preview it, you can email it to the client, or you can send it for e-signature, or you can cancel it. If you send it for e-signature, it will come up with the digital authorization screen, and you'll need to write your own little introduction email that goes with it, and then it will go through for their electronic signature. Once it's been saved and you've done what it is, you'll see here it'll be saved within the documents area, and it'll have the name, who it was prepared by, and here you'll have the action of what you want to do. Going too far. So now let's go back and have a look at that within the GovReports program itself. So I'm going to choose a client, and when I go into the client, I click on the 3 bars here and I select engagement letter. Now I choose the services I want. So I can't just click here, I need to click on here first. And if I'm just doing, setting up and maintaining, this is the only thing I'm doing for them, wonderful. If I'm doing BAS services, fantastic. So I can update and tick and save whatever it is that I want, and then I can click the save.
Can you turn a lead into engagement?
What's that? Can you turn a lead into an engagement letter?
I'm sorry, I thought I was muted.
That's all right. Tiana, you're probably best to answer that. I believe the proposals are separate to the engagement letters at this stage. Is that correct?
Once the lead has been converted into an active client, you can then turn that lead into an engagement letter. And I think that process will be the tracking process of the proposal or the lead will be into productions in early Feb, probably another 2 or 3 weeks.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Tiana. So now we have our letter of engagement. You can see you could even get the proposal from in here at the moment. Look at that, getting ready to launch it in February. So here I click on Start. Here I would give it a name. I would give it a commencement date and, you know, however long it's going to be for. And I put in my end of financial year. I have my placeholders here. Down the bottom I have my letter. So I can see here that this is the information here. I can put in some information here, and here the services that I've chosen will appear, period of engagement, responsibilities. You can go through, update this. Let's make it worthwhile, shall we? Yep. Just for the sake of this exercise. And I won't go through and change anything more, but you can see what I mean. So I'm going to save that now. Now, it's only when it's saved that I can preview it, email it, or send it for e-signature. Now, when I preview it, here it comes up. You can see that it's pre-populated with the information. Here's the practice name and here's the client. Here's the information we put, period of engagement, etc., etc. Fees, there's what we updated, etc. So you can see all that information there that comes up when you do that. Then I could email it to the client, or I could send it for e-signature. If I send it for e-signature, I haven't tested this one in here lately, so I'm just waiting for it to come up. We'll see if it'll come up. Well, once again, my system has decided to go on a slow work period, so I'm just waiting for this to come up very slowly, etc. Here we go. And you can see now that it moves straight into the digital authentication area of it. So in here, you would go through, there's a very basic template here, so you can go through and update that to make it suit your need. Once you've done that, you can actually go through and then create save your own little template and customize that. And then you would go through, add in the email, go to my next screen, and obviously it's looking for my signature at the moment because I am the same person, so it's not going to work exactly how I want it to. But in the end, I will have an area here where I would mark that for signature here, and then when they get the copy, they will go through and sign it. And when that's done, you would get notification that has been come back and signed, and then you could attach a copy of everything signed for their records. Now I'm going to close out of this area because that's the digital authorization area. If I go back now and look at my documents, you'll see that it's there, and I can get a PDF out. I can view it again and see where I am. Can you amend the base? No, I've just got Anne-Marie saying, can you amend the base template, which Ali just went through? I think someone's already answered that. Great to see you impressed, Zoe. It's very good, and it's a great way of having everything in one spot. So now, if I go and have a look at my clients, you'll see in here, we've got everything in one spot. We have in our letters of engagement, we have all the documents and everything and information. We can put file notes, so we have all the information in one area, in one place. So we can do our BAS returns through here, we can do our STP, we can do, we don't have to do the PAYG anymore, so now the single touch payroll's in, maybe only for some of those that had the exemption for this year. And yes, the signature process is the same as the other current documents like your TFNs, your BAS, etc. Same sort of thing, click it with a signature, send it off to them, get it back, and therefore you have a digitally signed copy in your system there that you have a copy of at any time. That protects you and protects your client. So this becomes then really important in that, when I look here now at my engagement letters here and I look at my documents, I'll have a list of all my documents here, and I'm just going to go and have a look because I haven't had a chance to look. So if I went to do another client now and I wanted to do an engagement letter, I'm just going to do a very quick engagement letter to have a look. Choose my bookkeeping services. Let's choose everything here, and let's just tell them we're going to do this one as well. Why not? And then we're going to do BAS services too. Then I go to my template, start my letter, put my states in, whatever it may be, save it, preview it, see how it looks, blah, blah, blah. Now go back. And when I look in my documents here, you'll see that the documents are linked to the client. So this is within, that would be to do with field, whereas if I go here to Chileno, I would see my documents for them in there. So it's linked once again back to the client. So once again, all that information all in one area. Let's take a look, why don't we now? May as well, we have a little time to go and play with. Let's look and see if this is the same sort of thing. You can see that our proposal is in here at the moment. So Tiana, maybe you're best to answer the question in regards to the fee per document for signature, but my understanding was when you purchase the digital authorisation, you pay a fee for the year, and I'm not sure of the quantity of documents that covers or whether there is a limit.
The service is included in your package, so you can call it, it's free if you've got the GovReports subscriptions, and there is no limit as to how many documents you send or signatures you get from your clients, etc.
I actually utilise this because I have the package. I utilise the digital signature for things, other documents as well, not just VAT returns, letters of engagement like that. So if you have the package, the digital authorisation comes with it, and there is no limit to the number of documents you can send. The other thing that's really handy in this, how many of you actually do the superannuation payments for your clients? These days, with the automation in the systems, some of us, like if you're using different software packages like MYOB or QuickBooks Online, some of those ones, it's at a click of a button when it comes out of people's bank accounts. Now, if you're doing everything for them, you'll need to get authorisation for that beforehand. So I actually utilise that part of it to actually send through for authorisation to say, once you've authorised this, I'll click the button and it will automatically take the funds from the bank account, and that they're aware that that will happen. So once again, it's about protecting you, protecting the client. The client knows what's going to happen. They know the payment's going to come out of the bank account and go to the super funds through the super clearinghouse, and you have been given the authorisation to do that. Okay. Diana, is there other stuff you'd like me to cover off in this as well?
If we are talking about the Office Practice Manager, I think we have a separate sessions for that.
That's right. So I've just seen one there from Susan. I can find the engagement letter on current clients but not proposals. Possibly, Susan, the reason you won't see the proposals is that I'm using a production version of GovReports at the moment. So that was probably the reason that you will see this information in here that you won't see in your own system. If I was in my own system, I probably wouldn't see the proposals at the moment, because the production area is testing ground to begin with. So that's why you're seeing it in here at the moment. But you can see that eventually everything will be in that same sort of area. But it will fall under the My Practice, because it makes sense to have it under the practice management area, because that's the area that you're tracking it for. You're tracking the leads in your practice, you're tracking the conversions to active clients, etc. Tiana, is there anything else that I haven't covered off so far in this session?
Okay, so you're right. The engagement letter is in the system. So if you log into your account, you would find the engagement letter in there and a few templates, but the proposal and the tracking, that will be, the proposal tracking and so forth will be into productions, I think, in about 2 to 3 weeks. As I mentioned, we just had a staff member who recently went on emergency maternity leave, so we had to delay that release just for a couple of weeks while he's off to be with his wife. But definitely you will see that in a couple of weeks.
I've gone through this a little faster than I thought I would. Is there anything else you'd like me to cover off at all, Tiana?
Can you cover the templates that we have? If you go into the templates, and this is what everyone will have access to it right now.
Okay, so in here we have some templates. So we have the letter of engagement template, and we can also go through and add new templates. So in here Obviously the proposal won't be in your one now, but certainly the letter of engagement and STP, letter of authority, will be in there. So we've already seen, when we go through a letter of engagement here, you can see the body here that allows you to go through and put your placeholders in place. You can customize the information you want in here. So I don't know if many of you are aware that the ICB and the IPA and the different organisations, membership bodies, have templates for engagement letters that you can then customise bits and pieces of them to suit how you want it. So you can go in through here and you can amend one that you've got here and make it suit what you want to put in there in terms of, the services will come up because you've selected the services already, but the background, the period of engagement, the responsibilities, all of these areas here, you can go through and change those to suit what it is that you want to say in your engagement letter template. So I actually have taken templates from a couple of organisations, cherry-picked the bits I like the most to make my engagement letter template. Then you go through and you can save that so that you have that template set up. Now in here, you also have a STP letter of authority template. So in here, this is the letter that you would use to get authorisation for a period of time for lodging the single touch payroll on behalf of your client. Now bear in mind, you have to remember in here you'll want things in there as it clearly says that you accept responsibility providing true and correct payroll information to the agent for the purpose of the single touch payroll, and they're paid with appropriate payroll awards, correct PAYGs withheld, etc. And you authorise it to lodge the STP event for the next 12 months. Now, bear in mind, this is for all those single payroll events. You will need to set up a separate letter of engagement for the single touch payroll to cover off the year-end finalisation STP lodge, because that does not come under the normal one. So you talked about, Patricia's asking here about, can I explain the section in the engagement letter that talks about storage in Australia if we're using Dropbox to store client information? Is that considered storage in Australia?
I would like to answer the question, Ali. So for engagement letter and proposals, we are not using this external storage. It will be stored in our internal database, which is located in the data centers are located in Australia.
I think though Patricia's talking more about the fact that in that letter we're talking about storing client information. We're talking about their financial information as well, not just the GovReports information to do with BAS. Is that right, Patricia? Okay, so I'll wait to hear back from Patricia on that. So there's a question here. Will you provide a template for the final STP lodgement? I don't know why you wouldn't maybe actually make a copy like this and then go through and amend it accordingly so that you have a template that way.
You notice that you can create your own template and save that for future use in your account.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go back to the question Patricia asked about the storage. So down here it talks about first require financial and regular data be stored in Australia with knowledge and further data and reports and lodgement to the ATO will be hosted in Australia. Yes, I think he's answered that question because he's talking there. It's talking there in that component there. Is that the data and personal information in the reports and lodgements to the ATO are hosted in Australia, and GovReports does that. So, yes, I think that covers that off.
And just going back to the questions that we had earlier regarding the templates, these templates are currently live and in productions, so you can use this part of the engagement and the proposal process. But like I said, the tracking of the proposal from lead to engagement letter, that will be available in a couple of weeks.
Okay, so I'm just going to go back out of here. So you'll notice that when I did that a minute ago, you'll notice that I went in here, I went in through Chelino, and you can notice that when I did the template, it linked it specifically with that entity. So I'm just going to delete that one for the moment. And I'm going to go back up here into my settings and into my practice settings. And I'm just going to look at my new client services for a moment. I'm just looking specifically, this is my document integration with my stuff like my Dropbox or Google Drive. Diana, maybe you can answer. If I want to set up that template that specifically is applicable not just to a specific client but to all clients, where do I access that one? Because at the moment I'm accessing my templates through my clients to do my letters of engagement, and when I went to do that new template, it selected it specifically based on a client rather than across the board. Do you know what I mean by that one? Or maybe Sandeep can tell?
Yeah, I think we'll probably prefer to send it for that one. I'm not too, I know that for each client, you want to create that template for that client, but I'm not too sure whether you can use across all other clients that you have. Sandeep?
I'm sorry, Diana, can you just repeat the question? It's not in the call.
Yes, so if I want to set up a template used for all the clients, is that possible? Because at the moment it is per clients that you're setting up the template for.
So like when you go into here, into the engagement letter, Sandeep, when you go to templates here, you have options. The owner is GovReports. But if I go to add a new template here, it selects it and makes the owner the specific client. Is there a way of doing it so it is generic, so it then appears as a template available for each client?
That's a good one. So what I can do is we can do that. So once the template has been set, it can be replicated in all the clients. Yeah, I can do that.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. So coming back to Patricia, yes, the thing about the storage was in the documentation, in that wording there was specifically relating to reports that are lodged to the ATO through GovReports. Other questions? What are you thinking, people, so far? I see that Zoe's quite impressed. I've seen her comments. What are you thinking? How are you thinking how this is going to benefit your practice? Will this make it easier for you to track your leads? Will this make it easier for you to keep on top of your letters of engagement and things like that? Oh, great to hear, Angela. I think it's a great tool as well. So that's fantastic. I mean, I think that, you know, as you know, the practice management is a separate webinar again. But the fact that you can have the lodgement and your practice management tools and letters of engagement and proposals all in one package is something that I absolutely love, because I hate the fact that all of the software packages want you to lodge there. It just means all the information's dispersed too far away. So that's why I use GovReports. I have everything in it. And it's really great to hear that fantastic feedback. Any other?
Of course, we will progressively adding more templates onto this as well, but it will be based on popular requests. I think we are about to implement I think by request from a few clients already, what was it? The ethical letter. So that will be soon added onto this list. But if you've got other requests or the templates requests that you want from us, just let us know, or you can create your own.
Fantastic. There's a question here from Angela. Will it be possible to send bulk engagements, that is all annual STP renewals, which will be due at the same time?
So at the moment, so the engagement letter is set up for each and every individual client, and we have a feature to send one by each for each client. So in a bulk, I'm just making note of that for the future releases.
And Sandeep, another question for you here. This is for me this time. When you go into the client here, at the moment, I can't see anything here that tells me about letter of engagement or anything along here, or documents or anything, rather than having to go through here and then going to the documents area. Will you be looking at possibly putting something in there, such as, you know, like you've got attachments, maybe the document of the engagement letter sitting in the attachments there, so that it'll be visible from this screen as well?
So this is what, the screen that you're seeing at the moment is a client profile. So which is combinations of practice management and the lodgement portal and all the other combinations. When it comes with a letter of engagement, totally we need a separate space for doing, preparing the letters. That's why we are just bringing it under the more action tab.
Right.
So I'll just think about that and I'll just consult with my team. If it's possible, definitely we can bring it inside the profile.
Just more about be able to actually see it here rather than having to go, like we want to go, yes, you can go through here to create it, but possibly maybe just seeing it here so that it's visible to us here as well, to know that we've done a letter of engagement. But as you say, also when we have that, when the proposals dashboard comes in, we'll be able to see the actives and all those sorts of things as well, won't we?
Yeah, yes you can.
And one other thing that I probably want to mention as well, and I think there was a questions earlier relating to if the terms of the engagement letter or the proposal expired, would you be able to continue to do the work on your clients, for example, lodgement, etc.? Yes, you will be, but you will be prompted with warning window pop up a warning that the engagement has expired. So it might be a worthwhile time for you then to re-engage your clients. And if you don't want to be reminded that the engagement letter or the engagement terms have expired, you can just basically switch off those notifications.
Yeah, and you find that in your practice settings, I would think. You have the things, notification settings in here, so you could turn things on and off. But I think the fact that you have the notifications is really good. I love the notification. So Susan says, I have terms and conditions already set up. Can this be utilised through the proposal as well? There's nothing stopping you customising that proposal and putting in your existing terms and conditions.
You can set it up as your own template too, Susan.
That's right. Is the end date of an engagement mandatory? I actually do proposals and they actually run from one period to another, but I allow for continuous billing, and I actually put in the body of my proposal that this proposal stays, this letter of engagement rather than proposal for me. In the letter of engagement it says this letter of engagement is valid until such a time as, I give a period of time for notice period to terminate the engagement, or there is a change to the conditions where it's a letter or proposal because the scope. Does that answer your question, Heidi? Susan says her terms and condition is a 27-page document. My goodness. Can the software be enabled with other sources like Dropbox? Does Sandeep or Tiana want to answer that one? I know it can.
So we have already integrated with the Dropbox and Google Drive for the files, not for the engagement letters. So the file,
So do the engagement letters actually sit within GovReports?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it will be sitting within the GovReports.
Yeah. And all your other documents, if you go into your practice settings, if you are doing your BAS returns and your job, using the practice manager, etc., you have your document setting in here where you can link it in with your Dropbox or your Google Drive.
I think there's a question from Anne-Marie relating to the font. Is limited in the system. Anne-Marie, at the moment, to be quite frank, I believe the team is changing the way that the design of the engagement letter or the proposal. There's going to be some minor changes just to make it better. So just watch this space.
Okay, fantastic. Can it be linked to OneDrive?
Not yet. At the moment, we only connected to Dropbox and Google Drive?
Google Drive. Yeah.
Not yet on OneDrive, sorry.
Question from Jackie. If the software is cancelled, the subscription's cancelled, what happens to the docs that are saved in here? Are they to be able to be downloaded and saved elsewhere? I can answer you in regards to the documents relating to your lodgements and your practice management saving documents. Well, certain, I can say practice management ones. They're already linked to Dropbox, so copies of those are sitting in your Dropbox. In terms of the lodgements, Sandeep, Tiana?
You can download it and save it elsewhere, definitely.
Fantastic.
Okay, it seems like we have covered all the questions so far. Any other questions from Jackie?
So yes, the engagement and not linked, can you put it to Dropbox?
You definitely can there's an option for you to get a copy in PDF, and you can download onto your, wherever that you want it saved to, for example, Dropbox.
Yeah, that's already there in the clients. When you go into the letter of engagement up here, and I just go to the document here, I can do the PDF, and then I can simply save that down and save it wherever I want, my Dropbox. So you can keep a copy of your engagement letters that way.
Okay. Okay, well, it seems like we have covered all the questions. For those who want to know more about the process of GovReport workflow management, as I mentioned earlier, we do have an Office Practice Manager webinar, I think early in February. Ali will be hosting that session, so registration is available on our website, the webinar calendar. If you're not too sure, just let us know. Well, that's all, folks.
And thank you so much, everybody, for attending tonight. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you all, and bye for now.